Have you felt stuck during tax season, unsure whether you should file your taxes? Could it hurt you? Could it help you on your immigration case? Maybe you've heard conflicting whispers from friends or notarios who tells you, file everything so you look great as a person, while another person tell you, don't you dare put any name on any government document until you have your status. When you're stuck between these two pieces of advice, it feels like every move is a risk. You're not just filing a return, you're making a decision that could determine if you stay with your family or jeopardize the future of your immigration case. Today, we're going to give you the clarity you deserve, straight from the people who have been in your journey, face the same questions, and now have overcome them to help others. My name is Carrie Nguyen with the Law Office of Carrie Nguyen, and I'm here today with Brian Ramirez, tax consulting and founder of P&H Tax. Together, we're going to walk you through the immigration and taxes overlap and answer the questions we hear most from our clients every single day. Now, here's the first thing you need to understand. Immigration law and tax law are separate systems, but they overlap in very important ways. When you apply for immigration benefits, the government often look at your overall history. That could include whether you file taxes, whether your income matches your tax records, and whether you've been consistent over time. So while taxes are not always the deciding factor in your immigration case, they can absolutely influence how your case is viewed. I think Brian would agree with me when we say, don't do this alone. Mistakes are not always easy to fix, especially when you don't have to. All right, Brian, we have a few questions for you. These are some of the most common questions that we got from our immigration clients. The first question is, can I file taxes if I don't have my social security number?
Yeah, that's a really common question, and the short answer is yes, but you will need an I-10 number. If you don't have an I-10 number, then there's a way to get the I-10 number.
Okay. All right, another question we have is, how do I apply for an I-10?
Yeah, absolutely. So the application for the I-10 is gonna involve a couple different pieces. One of them is gonna be the W-7, which is the application. The second thing is gonna be involved is gonna be the tax return. And then the third thing is usually going to have a non-expired passport. With those three things, you're able to apply for an I-10. And there's a couple different ways on how to go about it. You can go through an accepted agent, you can mail in your stuff, or you can go to the IRS website, the IRS office.
Great. What if I'm self-employed or get paid in cash? Do I still need to file my tax return?
That is a big misconception. Yes, all income, even in cash, even self-employment and cash, needs to be filed. Biggest scare per se is that some people don't want to file their tax returns because they don't want to have a big tax liability. They don't want to pay a big bill. And when you're self-employed, you usually have that. Well, we specialize in helping those people get the business deductions that they sometimes are not aware of to minimize that tax liability.
Okay, excellent. All right, what if I owe taxes from the previous years? Should I file taxes this year?
Yes, those two things are kind of related, but not really. If you have the previous balance from another year, that's going to be there regardless of whether you file or not. But you will be in a bad situation if you don't file the following year. More than anything, the government doesn't want you to stay in the shadows. They want you to see that you're compliant and that you're working with them. Communicate with them, try to get on a payment plan. And sometimes people are not aware that the next year's taxes might help clear the past year's debt, or half of the debt, or maybe the whole thing.
Yeah, no, excellent information to know. Okay, so we work with a lot of non-citizens, people who try to get legal status. So what do they do in some of this situation? This is for non-US citizens, right? Individuals who haven't filed taxes for several years. What's your recommendation, advice for them?
Right, well, they need to get up to date, right? They need to get current with their taxes, and then especially if they are pursuing a change of immigration status, right, Carrie? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think usually the government wants to see at least 3 years of taxes that need to be up to date. So there's a way to go about fixing all of that, even if they lost their documents or they think that they can't get the documents needed to file their tax returns. We can help them.
Okay, yeah, no, definitely. Getting a good 3 years of tax history is a very, very good advice on the immigration side as well. All right, what about for non-citizens who file taxes, but their income doesn't quite match with what they actually earned?
Yes, so that's a big red flag, right? And we want to look as perfect as possible. That way the story matches and nothing looks like fraud. So the biggest thing is you're gonna have to go back and do an amendment to fix that tax return to make sure that it matches the income, not only on the tax side, but also I'm sure on the legal side, and we can assist with those.
Okay. For individuals who are paid in cash and assume that they don't need to report the income, what's your advice?
Cash is good. Everybody likes cash, right? But regardless, it needs to be reported. And it goes back to a lot of the times the people that are being paid in cash, it might be contractors or self-employed people, and they're scared that they're going to have a big tax liability. They don't want to have a big tax bill to pay. We can help them offset those with business expenses or self-employment expenses to try to, one, minimize the taxes being paid, and two, get them current with their taxes.
Okay. And then for some of our individuals who maybe owe back taxes, but it feels very overwhelming to even come and talk to you, right? What's your advice for them?
Yeah, breathe first. Know that it's okay. You're not the first one, and you won't be the last one to be in those shoes in that situation. But as long as you have a plan and we can help assist you with that plan, it could be either a payment plan, it could be sometimes either different resolutions that the IRS will offer, but you have to communicate with the IRS. If you're in the shadows and you think sticking your head in the ground is going to make the situation better, then it won't. We can help you with either of those things.
Can I claim my children or parents who are still in my home country as dependents on my tax return?
Yes, that's a very popular question actually, and it depends. There's a lot of things that need to line up for that to make sense, but usually what people want to hear is, can I do it and will I get a credit for it, right? If the dependent has either a social or an I-10 number, then you could potentially, yes, claim them as your dependent if everything else aligns. But if the dependent lives in, let's say, Mexico, for example, and it has an I-10 number and they are providing for the kid, they could potentially also claim them as a dependent, but they will not get those credits, the refundable credits that are popular that people usually want to get when they claim a kid. They'll just be able to claim them and maybe get a non-refundable credit for that.
Okay, interesting. Since this new administration, the Trump administration, have you noticed any changes to following of the process for non-citizens? Something that you haven't seen before in previous administration?
Yeah, so the process itself hasn't changed much.
Okay.
What has changed is the laws and how that has affected immigrants or people without a social security number, specifically more on the credit side. People are not receiving those refundable credits for kids, child tax credit, education credits, and that being. So in that sense, I have seen a big switch just because people are not being able to claim those credits.
Okay, I did not know that. We have a few more questions from some of our clients that sent it in. Thank you so much for doing that. I recently became a legal permanent resident. This is a question from one of our clients, and receive a valid social security number. Can I claim the credit previously filed under my I-10?
Right, so that is, some people have done that in the past,
Okay.
right? But legality says that you can only claim the credits from the time of you receiving the Social Security going forward, because you don't have any Social Security in the past years, therefore you shouldn't be able to claim those credits. Now, I do know that there are some people that have done that in the past and have been successful, but that's that.
This is an excellent question where I think it's a overlap between immigration and tax law. Is it safe to apply for an I-10 when I'm in the country undocumented, but I'm started the process for a family immigration application? Any thoughts on that? I could jump in on the immigration side, but any thoughts on that process?
On the tax side, I've heard stories on both sides. Now, whether it's safe or not, currently the government has no legal access to get any information from the IRS or tax offices in that matter. So that doesn't mean that it might change in the future or it might not change in the future. Previous administrations, it had been pretty notable that it was safe that those two different legalities don't communicate with each other. So I guess it just kind of depends on whether or not you want to do it yourself or not.
Yeah, so I guess the answer to that as an immigration attorney is that it really depends on you, your personal choice. Like Brian had mentioned, that the two agencies, IRS and Department of Homeland Security, in past administration, they're not supposed to be communicating with each other. And there's actually a lawsuit about this issues right now. They're not supposed to be communicating with each other. So if your information with IRS should be safe, and they should not be reporting that to ICE for immigration enforcement or any of that. But we cannot guarantee what's going to happen to the lawsuit. So it's really just a personal choice. But it's a tough questions for sure. All right, I know I asked you a lot of questions, so just a few more, I promise. I would like to know if individual without a social security number, but with an ITIN and a registered business, are able to file taxes. That's probably the first question. And then do we qualify for credits such as the child tax credit? I think you kind of briefly touched base on that. But yeah.
Yeah, so two-part questions. The first answer to the question is yes, can they file their taxes with an ITIN and a registered business? Yes, they can always file the taxes, and they should file the taxes. It's a good thing to be up to date in that matter. Now, the second part of the question is, will you be able to qualify for some of those credits? And as I said, in this current change of laws and administration, you need to have at least one of the taxpayers have a valid social security card for you to be able to claim those credits, those refundable credits. You could qualify for an other dependent credit if you have a dependent, but that will only help if you have a tax liability. So if you owe money, let's say $500, then you qualify for that credit, then that would go towards the balance that you owe, but you will never receive any of that money.
Okay. Wow, excellent information. All right, fun questions. All right. Why is your tax firm different from other tax offices?
Yes, absolutely. I pride myself in having clear communication, having education, and just being transparent. Me being an immigrant myself, I know that I didn't grow up having the knowledge that I do now, and I think education is a big part of helping our community not only do the right things, but help each other grow and know how to work the system per se. You need to learn how the system works, but also we put it in a easy to understand language for everybody to go.
That's definitely important. Taxes, I mean, I would tell you myself, even as an attorney, it's complex, it's complicated. I don't do my taxes myself either. So, all right, how do our clients get in touch with you?
Yeah.
It's tax season. April 15th is the deadline. So how do we get in touch with you, Brian?
Yes, tax season is the deadline, April 15th, unless you have an extension. But easiest way to get a hold of us is going to be calling our office, 817-587-8757. Somebody will be in contact with you, and if we don't answer, just leave a voice message or a text message, and we'll be right with you.
Perfect. That's perfect. I'm sure you will be hearing from some of our clients, and thank you again for answering all the questions.
No, thank you for having me. I hope to help some clients of yours.
Yes, of course.
Well, Carrie, now it's my turn to ask some fun questions.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's start here. So, will filing my taxes alert immigration authorities, ICE, for my status or location?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot. Before 2025, the IRS is not able to share information with Department of Homeland Security. Right now, currently in March of 2026, the federal court is reviewing whether that protection is going to stay in place. There is a court order from November of last year that blocks the IRS from sharing that information with ICE while this federal lawsuit is going on. So at this moment, your tax information is still protected, but this is something that Brian and I had discussed, and it's we don't know what the outcome will be. And so we just have to wait and see.
It's a tough question. Yeah. Next question would be, why does an immigration attorney need to see my tax return?
This is an excellent question as well. There are many reasons why we may need it. I would say there's probably three main reasons. The first one is to show good moral character. So this term, good moral character, comes into place when you're applying for citizenship. You have to show that you've been paying your taxes, and so we usually request about 3 years of tax history to show that you have been paying your taxes. And then if you are filing for a green card, for example, for your spouse, it's good to have joint tax return together to show that you are married and that you're sharing that financial responsibility together. So the second reason is if we're trying to prove this is a valid marriage, that the couple is filing joint taxes together. We call that bona fide good faith marriage evidence. The third, and I would say this is probably the most common reason, is to show that you are, as the US citizen, that you are financially responsible for the immigrant. So for example, if you're filing for your parent, if you're filing for your spouse, you are the sponsor, okay? And we have to submit affidavit support to show that you make sufficient income to sponsor the immigrant. And then if you are married, you gotta show that you are financially responsible for your spouse up to the point of when they become a US citizen. So we call that affidavit support. There's a financial responsibility aspect to that. So it's mainly to verify whether you have the financial eligibility or if you are a co-sponsor as well. So we may request tax return from your co-sponsor to see if they meet the test of financial eligibility.
That's some great information. And actually, some of my clients have asked me in the past that they needed their tax returns because there wanted to be some sponsors. And I know there has to be a certain amount of income that needs to be made to show that they can take care or be the sponsor of whoever they're trying to sponsor, right? Which sometimes can be a little bit hard because some people that have businesses or that have write-offs go ahead and write those things off, but then they don't meet the qualifications to be a sponsor, right? So it's best to ask you prior
Yeah,
to that.
definitely. I think if you are considering being a sponsor or even petitioning for your family, it is extremely important that you really have that conversation with us, your immigration attorney, your tax consulting, because there has to be a specific number that you have to meet, or obviously have it higher than that. This number changes due to inflation every year. So, and it depends on your household size. And so if you own a business, make sure that your taxes, the income that is filed is correct and accurate, and then it does support your immigration application.
A fun question that just kind of popped in my head, and I get this from my clients a lot, is one of the questions is that they're going through the legal process of trying to get citizenship to their spouse, but for tax purposes they have filed separate in the past. How does that affect them?
Yeah, this is a tough one, and we've definitely seen this. If you happen to file taxes separately, and then you come and you talk to us as an immigration attorney, and we say, hey, there's just not a whole lot of evidence of your relationship together, your marriage, we do recommend going to Brian, to a tax consultant, amending your previous tax return if possible, to make sure that it's a joint tax return instead of head of household versus filing single when you're really married. That is a red flag for immigration. It could potentially lead to a finding of fraud when you are legally married, but you're not sharing that responsibility together.
Great information, Carrie. So notarios are attorneys in Mexico, and we have notaries here, and I think that word gets confused a lot, right? Should I trust a notario who promises me a huge refund and a work permit here?
Absolutely not. Okay. And I'm not saying that because I'm an immigration attorney and Ryan's a tax consultant. And I've been doing this for, 15 years now. We see so many fraud coming from notarios, and it could be as innocent as just filing an asylum application or a I-130 when the person is not eligible at all for the process. So please consult with an immigration attorney. Also, if you get in tax return, if you file in tax, talk to a tax consultant before you file any of this legal important documents.
Yeah, sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side, right? Next question is, does owing the IRS money mean that my citizenship will be denied?
Not necessarily. A lot of our clients are on a payment plan with the IRS if they owe taxes. As long as we show that you are in compliance, that you're making your effort to, pay your debt to the IRS, we have successfully gotten citizenship for our clients who are currently owing taxes to the IRS.
And Carrie, here's a fun question. So what makes your firm different from all the other ones out there?
Yeah, I think honestly, just personal. I'm an immigrant myself, just like Brian is, right? We're immigrants. Our law firm is founded by me, an immigrant, for immigrants. My team is made of children of immigrants who've gone through the process ourselves. So we do take our case very personally. In addition, we hold ourselves, we believe in not just letting cases sit. We hold ourselves and we build a structure with accountability in mind. So we have a 30, 60, 90-day filing timeline, very clear, very transparent, upfront with our clients to make sure that your case is moving forward without any delay.
That's good to hear, because I hear a lot of stories about, well, I started a process and then it just kind of sits there, and I think that's quite frustrating. But because of that, I'm sure people are going to want to get in touch with you. So how do we contact you?
Yes, please give us a call at 817-330-9734. We obviously speak English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So we look forward to welcome you into our office, and you can meet a lovely team of legal experts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We know how overwhelming taxes and the immigration process can feel. It's stressful and sometimes confusing, but you don't have to go through this alone. Making sure your taxes in your immigration case are aligned is just one way to help protect your future and your family.
Our goal is to give you peace of mind whenever you walk out of your offices, and we want to know that you're 100% compliant and 100% prepared for whatever comes next in your journey.
Mistakes in these areas are expensive, but they are preventable. Let's get right the first time. I'm Carrie Nguyen, and this is Brian Ramirez.
We're in your corner.
Thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay informed, and we look forward to helping you move forward with confidence.
Our goal is to give you peace of mind when you walk out of our offices. We want you to know that you're 100% compliant and 100% prepared for whatever comes next in your journey.